Record. Oh man.
Woo, we made it.
What's up, insurance
Bros? We're going live.
My
Sorry about
insurance brother from another mother.
From another mother. Yes, little technical difficulties. Take a breath.
Breathe it out. We're doing good.
We're doing good.
We're doing good. This is our third week in a row.
3. I know. I can't
This
believe
is
it.
like the longest thing I've ever committed to.
This is pretty long. Yeah. Let me tell you, I was like driving this over here this morning. I was like, whoa, I don't know. We keep this going. But yeah, next week will be a full month.
Day after tax day.
Was it tax day?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday.
Every day's tax day.
I mean, we're always paying taxes, it seems like.
Well, so what are the two things that are inevitable?
Death and taxes.
Death and taxes, which leads us to our topic. And it's a great segue.
It is a great segue
Funeral
in. Funeral insurance. Yes.
What the heck?
Oh
is
my
funeral
gosh, that
insurance?
is a good one. Pre-need is the funeral industry term for it. Pre-need.
Pre-need.
Pre-need. And so at time of death, it's called at need. Like the need for funeral, for a funeral home, for funeral arrangements, the need.
Got it.
So at need is at time of death. Pre-need is before the need of the funeral home, so pre-arrangements.
So, but let me ask you this. So, like, let's start from the beginning. Who is funeral insurance for? Like,
Start from the beginning, like Zeus beginning, all the way back.
As far as we want to go back, I mean, if we want to launch some ships to write a policy, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But like funeral insurance, I don't really know anything about it, and I guess off the top of my head, I would think funeral would be expensive. You know, I think what's the average cost of a funeral?
The average cost of a funeral with a burial is probably about 10 to 15,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of that is cemetery side.
Sure.
Like funeral home side, funeral service, like a viewing service. You know, you're looking 4,000 to 5,000, maybe.
What about a cremation?
A cremation is it depends. So there's the disposition, which is the cremation, the final act. Being buried is a disposition. Being cremated is a disposition. So there's the people say, well, what's the cost of cremation? Well, the cost of a direct cremation, no service, anything, you know, at Red Mountain Funeral Home is $9.95. But with we give a discount to hospice and assisted livings and stuff at $8.95.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we take $100 off for them. That goes back to the family, but that's just, you know, the cost of a direct cremation. So the funeral home has funeral services. Like, have you ever been to a funeral service before?
Absolutely.
You know, where they set up the coffin in the front and there's the pastor talking and people are going down the aisle and saying their goodbyes and things. So that's the funeral service. And in the funeral home, we coordinate that with, you know, in our chapel or the church. And then, so like a grieving service.
Got it.
So people can come in and say goodbye. But then it's also, see family, tell stories, reminisce.
Sure.
Remember. So there's the coordination of the service, the traditional service. And then afterwards, it's either, you know, we either go to the cemetery or they go to the crematory for
totally off topic, but I feel like a lot of like the funeral process, if you will, has changed a little bit. Like, just, you know, it's not so much a choir and you know, in a big church and that type of thing. More of like a gathering, celebration of life. I mean, that's just my experience.
No.
I you know, the recent deaths that we've really experienced have been a celebration of life, and
so
in some cases some lessons.
Like a barbecue in the backyard kind of thing, everyone gathering around.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like at my dad's, we let balloons go, but I don't think they like that anymore.
Oh, I mean, I don't think you can get in trouble for letting balloons go.
you never know.
You never know. I guess you have to get caught in that problem.
Well, then, right? You know what? And who's going to call the cops? So back to this. So funeral insurance. So it's really for anybody. And it's final expenses.
So basically, you're prearranging your funeral plans.
Okay.
So I'm Greek Orthodox, and we bury, right?
Yeah.
So that's tradition that we set up a burial, and so a full service in a church, then to the cemetery. A visitation the night before.
Yeah, like a rosary.
Full service in the church the next day, and then the graveside service.
Sure.
So that's for my heritage, Orthodox, and so setting that up ahead of time is the prearrangement. So I can figure out all the the flowers I want, the music I want played at the cemetery.
Sure.
The officiant, the pastor, if you want a specific.
So you're really
pastor.
just writing the.
You kind of
the service, so to speak.
The service, so to speak. Yes. So I actually, and it depends on the person, like your loved one,
right?
Actually going through with it. But I opted for the Viking funeral.
Are we gonna get to shoot arrows at a
yes
boat?
So in back east, they allow that. You can get a wooden raft. They push it out to sea, and then you can get somebody with a flaming arrow and shoot it and just go out. So
wow.
So yeah, I did a little prearrangement for that. So, but it's up to my daughter at that point to figure out what. What's going to happen, or Diana, whoever is there at the time.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
My brother lives in Rhode Island, and they have what they call berry patches.
Oh.
And that will be like house, cemetery, house. Like imagine a cemetery
right next door
in your suburb.
That'd be kind of cool.
And
Halloween time.
Still active, and so. We went and looked at a few of them, and I mean, they go back to like the 1600s. But my brother said they'll still have their own, because they're owned by a family, so they'll still have active burying taking place in those.
I like
patches.
those old ones because they have the big headstones.
Mm-hmm.
The big headstones or the statues and stuff. Mausoleums above ground.
There was one. It literally said like 1779 baby, like nothing else, just baby. And so I mean, who knows. So how much is funeral insurance?
Well, so funeral insurance is actually guaranteed issue.
Sure.
So
everyone's gonna die.
And it just depends on the arrangement, the total cost of the funeral. So you sit down with a funeral employee, you write up the, all the expenses, and then whatever the total cost of your funeral would be is what the death benefit in a sense of the funeral insurance would be.
Random question.
Yeah. It is.
Let's say you're traveling, you're in Europe.
Europe, right.
And you die.
But
you've got funeral insurance. They get you home?
So it depends. Yes, there is a rider that we normally put on the funeral insurance.
Otherwise, you're looking at a Weekend at Bernie's situation.
You are, pretty much. Yeah. You can either get the $500 insurance add-on and have them fly you home wherever you die at, or you can work with the local funeral home in that other country and figure out what you want to do.
Wow.
Ugh. Yeah, but then trying to send somebody home from Europe to America, you're looking at, upwards of $20,000-$30,000.
Really?
Right. You got to figure you need a cargo plane ticket the day of. You can't plan in advance.
They can't put that at the bottom of like a Southwest flight.
Sometimes they do, but it's a cargo. It goes cargo, so it's a little different.
Okay.
And there's a little bit higher cost. At that point, it's per pound. Cargo is so, and you got to figure the deceased, and then the coffin that they're in, plus the outer container that everything is surrounded in, a big wooden crate, getting to the airport. So now you're looking at like 300-400 pounds, and they're charging $2-3 a pound.
Wow.
You know, plus the flights, plus the funeral home that did the arrangements. Yeah. Plus the funeral home on the other end. Plus if they have to do a couple layovers on the way.
Oh my gosh, and
transfer. Oh yeah. So you get packed in dry ice.
Does a veteran need funeral insurance?
Yes. So the VA veterans will pay for the cemetery side of things.
Okay.
Which is a huge savings. So you're looking at a savings $10,000 because they pay for the plot, they pay for the vault, they pay for the opening and closing, they pay for the headstone, but they don't pay for the preparation of the body. So that's the funeral home side. So the burial is the disposition. The funeral home side is the funeral services or arrangements that we do. So bringing them into the funeral home, the refrigeration cost, embalming, preparation for a service, the casket, coordinating the service and then coordinating the graveside service.
Yeah.
So it's always good for a veteran to, get that set up in a funeral insurance plan, and then list their bring their DD-214 to have that on record so the funeral home can contact the VA and set up the burial at the time of passing.
Okay.
Yeah, so the funeral home will actually coordinate all of that.
There seems to be different levels as well, like as far as, and maybe it's a family choice or the veteran's choice of, I played the bagpipes. And so I played the bagpipes at a funeral 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
And he was a veteran.
Yeah.
And so they had an honor guard. They played taps and folded the flag.
Oh, yeah.
But I've played other funerals, and in fact, at my grandfather's funeral was a pew pew.
The gun salute.
Yeah, the 21 gun salute. So I think that there's got to be some type of level, and I don't know if it's who you are or whatever.
Some of it is based around how long you were in the military for.
Interesting.
And
what you did
and stuff, rank. Yeah.
Sure.
And so that's based on that, but you can request things, and then it's up to them if they're gonna fund it. Yeah.
So when you're laying out an insurance policy for a funeral, what information do you need from the person obtaining a policy?
Right. So the person, well, first we need to know who it's for, obviously.
Right.
Like a loved one or themselves or yourself. And then, their basic information, and then how they're going to pay for it. So by
check or credit card. Is it essentially a life insurance policy?
It is. Basically, the underlying version of it, it's a life insurance policy offered by insurance carriers, but it's specific to the funeral home. So like I circle back to the pre-need word, the type of policy, it's called a pre-need. But, only a handful of people understand what that word means. So funeral insurance just kind of, rolls off the tongue a little easier.
Sure.
But it is a life insurance type policy. So it goes, the money goes in the policy. The death benefit
goes to the funeral home.
It does go to the funeral home, but so if you create the plan, say yours is a viewing service plus a cremation, so you're looking at just say $5,282.52. That's the death benefit. You're going to pay it off either all at once or over 3 or 5 or 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Right. So you can set up a payment plan for that. And then if you die before it's paid off, the life insurance side kicks in and pays it out entirely. But if you eventually pay it off, then it's going to be there, and it's like a whole life plan, so it does
accumulate some value.
Accumulate some value over the course of time to help cover the inflation of the funeral service. Because
the dreaded I word.
Right. Well, I mean, you got people bring in these policies that they did 30 years ago, and
it's $2,500.
Right.
Right. So, what happens if you move? So if I buy a policy in Mesa, Arizona, but then I, move to Seattle, Washington.
So that's a good question. So the you contract with the local funeral home for the funeral home prices. So you make a contract with us for our prices, but the money is in an insurance policy, and the insurance policy is good anywhere in the country. So then they can take it to the local funeral home in Seattle and say, hey, we put this together. And that funeral home is going to look at it and be like, okay, sign here, we'll take care of it from there.
They become the death beneficiary.
They do. Okay, and so they'll call the insurance company, which will call us, and we'll sign off on it, and they'll get the proceeds. And the funeral home has a choice to either honor it or put it towards the overall cost.
Got it.
Now, the majority of the funeral homes that we've worked with it through the years, they honor it.
Sure.
Regardless of what it is, because it's a funeral insurance plan, a pre-need is a lead for a funeral home.
Sure.
For some time in the future, and it's a 50-50 chance that we're going to get it, they're going to go somewhere else.
It's a guarantee, but it's also a small world.
Right.
You don't want to be a dick about it.
So it's a funeral home. Somebody comes in with one of these, then they're like, oh, well, this is a new family that we've never worked before because they're from Arizona.
Now it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity for them to help their family with these pre-needs and have leads for their future. So it's, yeah.
What about a situation like, is there a catch? Is if you could tell someone who wanted to purchase a pre-needs funeral, what would you tell them to look out for? Is there any, gotcha moments or anything like that?
There's no real catch. So there's two health questions. If you're unhealthy, you're in a hospital in the last 12 months or skilled nursing, then you go on to the a 2-year waiting period. So it's not like a waiting period, but in the first 2 years, if you're unhealthy and you check one of those boxes, then the death benefit, if you die in that time frame, the death benefit is what you paid in plus a percentage more, but not the total amount of what you agreed upon.
Okay.
Because you could possibly die in the first 2 years. If you don't, then if you make it the 2 years, then it's 100% of the death benefit when it comes in. So the catch,
but more than likely you've paid it off by that point.
More than likely you've paid it off by the time you die.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure.
But there's, other than that, there's no real catch to it. You just put it together, create it, have it in place, share it with your kids. It's there. It's going to grow a little bit. You can use it wherever you need to use it at.
Who's a good referral for passing a lead like that?
Like a funeral home?
Yeah. Or not a funeral home.
I'm just joking.
I meant more of like, hey, if I hear this, then I should say, hey, you need to call Voss about funeral insurance.
Well, most people when they're moving into an assisted living, they need to have their arrangements in place or a funeral home picked out. So that's always good to see when there's somebody moving in, do a review. If they don't have it, then get it, and then talk to the family, get it in place so they don't have to worry about it later. The cost of the funeral insurance goes up based on age.
Sure.
So obviously today is your oldest. Tomorrow you're going to be older.
Right.
It's always best to do it.
It's never going to be cheaper than it is right now.
Right. What did they say? When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or today?
Yeah.
So I mean it's that, but if you basically you're taking the burden off your family, because when you die, when someone dies, you got to go in and make the arrangements, sit down with the funeral home, figure out what's going on. And I don't like to be mean, but funeral homes have a bad rap for upselling things at the time of passing because a family comes in
based on emotions,
and they're emotional, and then there's a few brothers and sisters, and they're like, well, mom liked pink, well, actually mom liked red, well, she likes wood versus, so now all of a sudden, you're
a referee,
right? Yeah. So it's always good for you or the family to come in and pre-plan everything, so then the kids come in and they don't have to argue over it. Oh, it's already done. This is exactly what she wanted. Sign here, and we'll take care of things. So it saves money in the long run.
My mom got my dad's casket at like Caskets R Us.
Yeah, it
was basically like a discount casket. I don't know if it was flawed. I remember it was green. That's about all I remember.
Yeah, so you can yes. So honestly, Costco sells caskets.
Really?
They do. Yeah.
Oh man.
And I keep an eye on the prices, and their prices are a little bit lower than ours.
But you're all right there.
Well, we all buy caskets from the same company. Let's just be honest here. There's only like 2 or 3 companies that
make caskets.
Well, there's only like China that makes caskets, and then we all kind of buy from them. The local casket companies that sell them, they buy in bulk, and then they can offer a lesser rate in a sense. But we all buy from the same. In Arizona, there's two companies. We all buy from the same company.
Okay. Fair enough.
So if you get a 20 gauge casket for over $1,500-$1,600, actually I think it's like 17 now, but if they're looking like $3,000 for that, I'm like, come on, but then again, our overhead as a mom and pop is a lot less than a big national company that's funding everybody. So you got to think about that. But then Costco comes in and they offer something close to ours, and people can get it. That's fine, but we can't. If it comes scratched and dented, that's not us. So there's the other thing.
You have to store it in a garage. I just pack mine full of ammo.
Well, I mean, they send it. Yeah, right. just put it in the side. Who's gonna open it? Right. Just pack it with your guns and stuff, like the Terminator did.
Man.
Yes. And bury it for later.
Yeah. That's a good way to end up on the news.
Well, you know what? You can get a casket with a sealed line, so it's watertight.
Oh wow!
Right? Yeah.
Is that some of the one of the differences between like a cheap casket and like a upgraded casket?
Kind of.
Does it matter?
Well, I guess it depends on the person getting the casket. But if you're sending a casket to another state, another country with somebody in it, you need a sealed casket.
Oh.
And then also if you're having a closed casket service because of a horrific death, so you want a sealed casket for that as well. But you can get there's like 20 gauge, 18 gauge caskets, bronze caskets, solid gold.
Wow,
I know, it's crazy.
Wow. And
then wooden caskets. The wooden caskets are a little bit more on the custom side because they're wood.
I have a dumb question.
Yeah.
If you don't have a vault, right? And as I understand, the vault is like the crypt that goes down and it lines the grave.
Right.
And then they put something on top, right?
Big concrete.
That's not going anywhere.
No.
But you don't have to have that.
So in Maricopa County, it's per cemetery.
Okay.
You don't have to have it. But if the cemetery requires it, then you have to have it.
So then, if you don't have it, is there an opportunity that it would create like a sinkhole?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So that's why cemeteries have them. Obviously, it's something else to sell, but if you don't put it in, the coffin slowly deteriorates.
Sure.
And the ground sinks in.
Ashes, dust to dust.
Right. So you see some of those old cemeteries with those little bumps like that.
Sure.
So to mow that lawn takes a little bit more effort than it does the ones with the vaults in it.
Got it.
But there's cemeteries in Arizona in the rural areas, smaller towns, where they don't require it. They just come out with a backhoe, dig a hole, and You lower them in, and
they pack it hard enough that it.
I think they come back around every so often and repack.
Sure.
So because when you see those cemeteries, there's no divots in the ground.
Yeah.
So I think whoever maintains the cemetery, probably fills them in as needed.
It seems regionally, like I've been to like Louisiana, it seems like they've got more like vaults that are on top of. Is that more of like a ground factor?
I don't know. That's got to be a ground factor.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know in like some storms, there's like, oh, this casket's floating down the.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
If the vault opens up, but the vaults are concrete. The ones underground seal everything in. Concrete lasts quite a while.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's gonna seal in all the gases and the fluids that come out of the body.
What about like a special request? Like my mom wants to be like mummified, or I've seen, and my phone's probably gonna hear this, but like you can become a tree.
You can become a tree. Yes.
So like, absolutely. Can you handle a special need like that?
Yeah. So we coordinated with a company in Washington that will bury you in like a burlap sack and plant under a tree. But then there's a new company in Arizona that's opening up pretty soon. It's and then Washington has some different laws, but they can turn you into fertilizer in a sense,
mulch. Okay.
Yeah, they put you in this special unit. You stay in there for 2 months, and they slowly, your body deteriorates and you turn into mulch, and then the family gets the mulch back and they can put it in their garden. So I mean, it sounds different, yes, but some people, like that. And then there's also that's
a little heavy for me. Like I wouldn't be able to be like, hey, how's this Nana salad going?
Right, because you're growing your vegetables in
it. Yeah. I mean, I understand spreading ashes and stuff like that.
So they make ashes urns that are like fertilizer, and then the ashes go in there because the ashes are actually calcium.
Oh wow!
It's the ground bone. It's bone. Yeah. So you can plant this. A tree grows from it. Mm. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, we saw a bunch of those kind of urns. You put a little ashes in there, and it grows a tree.
I have ashes of my grandparents. Total shout out to my mom. We went up there, and my brothers and I, there's a glass blowing place.
Oh yeah.
And so we each got to pick out whatever shape we wanted and colors we want, and it was me and my 3 brothers, and we each got a little bit of ashes from Nana and Papa, and they were basically, and it was super respectful the way they did it. It was great.
Yeah.
But they dab, into the ashes, and they create, mine's like a paperweight, and it looks like a galaxy.
Yeah. It's pretty neat.
It's red and blue, as far as like symbolizing my grandparents, and you can see the ashes in there. But one thing that I noticed was interesting is that one of the ashes was predominantly darker than the other one. Oh. And I don't know if it was the process, the bones, genetics, whatever, but I thought that it was a little bit interesting to me.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
So it was a nice process. I think it was a good way, in 1,000 years or 500 years when that's sitting in a Goodwill or something, nobody will ever know.
Right. But, this is beautiful.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
This is be great for my office.
It's my Nana and Papa. Boss, leave us with some parting words about funeral insurance, and what that looks like for an individual, and potentially, I'd say more for the family.
It is more for the family. It's
like life insurance. It's very much a gift.
It is like a gift, yes. I mean, life insurance helps the family with a lot of things after the fact, paying off bills and things. But having so you can get a final expense plan. People have heard about those. That pays for whatever expenses there are, but you're not going to lock in a funeral home cost at the time. when you get it. So when that pays out, it's going to cover part of the funeral. The funeral insurance, you create a contract with the funeral home for these prices for however long you live. Another 20, 30 years, you're not going to pay the new inflated rates because you made a contract.
Got it.
So this is huge for families. The kids don't have to can spend time grieving instead of spend time planning.
Yeah.
All the arrangements in place. The funeral home can take care of it, write up the obituary, get it online, send it out to everybody. Let the funeral home take that burden off of you, and then you just
celebrate the life.
Grieve and celebrate the life.
Sure.
But then that everything is covered. The family walks in, they have one, it's an old one, 20, 30 years ago. We look at it, and they sign off on it. We're like, you grieve, and we'll take care of everything.
That's awesome.
It's a great feeling when somebody, has one and you can help them out and be like, listen, just take a load off.
Yeah.
At the funeral, we kind of, we work with people on that to slow things down a little bit. But it's always good to have that planning in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Let's talk about upcoming events. Do you have any events this week?
Yes. So we have an event this week. Senior Healthcare Solutions at Robeson Reserve, Sun Lakes, from 3 to 4:30, 3 to 5. A happy hour, mix and mingle. So come on out to that. That'll be a good time. Awesome. There's get about 30, 40 people there. There's going to be finger foods, and I believe it's indoor, outdoor for them. They have a patio. So that'll be nice. And the weather's getting a little warm, but it's still nice outside, in the afternoon.
Still cool enough in the early evening.
Early evening, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any events coming up?
So no, not. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. Yes, I do. I've got the Arizona Men's Group. We are meeting at 11:30 for lunch on Friday at Arizona Wilderness in Gilbert. So if you're a man and a business owner,
and you like going outside,
looking to network, and you want to go to Arizona Wilderness, we will be there at 11:30 on Friday.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that. Also, I've got another campaign going to Save the Clare House. The Clare House is
Save the Clare House
is Bergie's in downtown Gilbert. That building was built in 1918. It's older than the town itself. And so right now we've got an effort, and we're collecting tax-deductible donations to actually physically pick up and move that house. So far, we've been featured on AZ Family, the CBS out here, as well as ABC 15. And there's been a number of different articles written about that. So
where are you going to move it to?
So it will move in front of HD South, which is the Gilbert Museum.
Yeah.
And the plan is to make it a permanent exhibit. So we're raising about $135,000. Right now, the developer has pledged $10,000, which is the cost of demo. But we're at about $15,000 so far. So we've got a little bit ways to go. We've got to get there by May 15th.
Oh, May 15th.
So, yeah, yes. we gotta raise a ton of money here. But I'm hopeful that we can get that moved and really protect that house for all time.
Yeah, for the rest of its life.
HD South is actually the oldest building in Gilbert. The Clare House is the second oldest building in Gilbert. So there's a lot of history there. So hashtag Save the Clare.
Save the Clare.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What else, Fox?
And then
we're working on a logo.
Yeah, we're working on a logo, so we should have that pretty soon. And then if you want to come on the show and interview, let us know, and we'll get you on. And we actually have a physical therapist requested the other day.
Nice, absolutely.
We're gonna,
and I think Jeremy Wasserman reached out as well. He wants to be an insurance bro, but he doesn't have a beard.
Yeah, I know, right? I love the guy. He needs to grow a beard. So Brittany Singleton for physical therapy is going to come up in the show, and Jeremy Wasserman. And
let's line that up.
Yeah, we get a few more people on, and we'll just interview everybody and let them know.
Share your business.
Get their business out there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Boss, thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for
Insurance
Bros.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a great day.